Steve Jobs, the man who changed how we live with technology. Chapter 1, A Child of Silicon Valley. Steve Jobs was born on February 24, 1955, in San Francisco, California. He was adopted shortly after birth by Paul and Clara Jobs, a working-class couple who raised him in what would later be known as Silicon Valley. From an early age, Steve showed curiosity and a strong personality. His father taught him how to take things apart and put them back together, especially electronics. These moments planted the seeds of his future passion for technology. However, Steve didn't enjoy school. He was often bored, questioned authority, and didn't fit easily into traditional classrooms. Even as a child, he believed that things could always be done better, a mindset that would later define his entire career. Chapter 2, College, Dropout, and Calligraphy. In 1972, Steve enrolled at Reed College in Oregon, but after just one semester, he dropped out. College was expensive, and he didn't want to waste his parents' money studying subjects that didn't inspire him. Still, Steve didn't truly leave. He continued attending classes he found interesting, including a calligraphy course. At the time, it seemed useless, but years later, that class would inspire the beautiful typography of the Macintosh. During this period, Jobs explored spirituality, traveled to India, practiced meditation, and searched for meaning. These experiences shaped his philosophy. Technology should not just work. It should be elegant, intuitive, and deeply human. Chapter 3, The Birth of Apple. In 1976, Steve Jobs teamed up with his friend Steve Wozniak, a brilliant engineer. Together, working out of a garage, they created the Apple I, a simple personal computer. Jobs wasn't the engineer, he was the visionary. He knew how to sell ideas, see the future, and inspire others. While Wozniak built the technology, Jobs imagined how everyday people could use it. Soon after came the Apple II, one of the first successful personal computers. Apple Computer quickly grew, attracting investors and attention from around the world. Steve Jobs was only in his early 20s and already changing the tech industry. Chapter 4, The Macintosh Revolution. In 1984, Apple released the Macintosh, a computer with a graphical user interface and a mouse. Revolutionary at the time. The launch was announced with one of the most famous commercials in history. Jobs believed computers should be simple, beautiful, and accessible to everyone. He obsessed over details, from fonts to packaging, often pushing his teams to the limit. But his intense personality caused problems. Jobs was demanding, emotional, and sometimes difficult to work with. As Apple grew, tensions increased between him and the company's leadership. Chapter 5, Falling from his own company. In 1985, after internal conflicts and declining sales, Steve Jobs was forced out of Apple, the company he helped create. For many, this would have been the end. For Jobs, it was a painful but necessary turning point. He later said this was one of the best things that ever happened to him. Losing Apple freed him to start again, wiser, humbler, and more focused. Chapter 6, Next and Pixar. After leaving Apple, Jobs founded Next, a company focused on high-end computers for education and business. While Next was not commercially successful, its technology would later become crucial to Apple's future. At the same time, Jobs bought a small animation studio from George Lucas, a company called Pixar. Against all odds, Pixar released Toy Story in 1995, the first fully computer-animated feature film. It was a massive success and transformed the film industry. Steve Jobs had become a powerful figure not only in technology, but also in entertainment. Chapter 7, The Return to Apple. In 1997, Apple was struggling. The company bought Next, and Steve Jobs returned. Soon he became Apple's CEO again. This time, Jobs focused on simplicity. He cut unnecessary products, rebuilt the company culture, and returned Apple to its core mission, making great products. Then came the iMac. Colorful, simple, and friendly. Apple was back. Chapter 8, Changing the World Again. In the 2000s, Steve Jobs led one of the greatest innovation streaks in history. First came the iPod, which changed how people listened to music, then iTunes, which transformed the music industry. In 2007, Apple released the iPhone, a device that combined a phone, a music player, and the internet. It didn't just improve phones, it reinvented them. Later came the iPad, redefining personal computing once again. Jobs believed technology should disappear into the user's life, intuitive, seamless, and beautiful. Chapter 9, Illness and Final Years. In 2004, Steve Jobs was diagnosed with a rare form of pancreatic cancer. He continued working despite his illness, often appearing frail but determined. Even in his final years, Jobs remained deeply involved in Apple's products, focusing on design, user experience, and long-term vision. In 2011, he stepped down as CEO. Shortly after, on October 5, 2011, Steve Jobs passed away at the age of 56. Chapter 10, A Lasting Legacy. Steve Jobs didn't invent the computer, the phone, or the tablet, but he reinvented them. His legacy lives in the devices we use every day, and in the belief that technology and creativity belong together. Jobs once said, "The people who are crazy enough to think they can change the world are the ones who do." And Steve Jobs did exactly that.